Welcome to Contractor Cuts, where we cover the good, the bad, and the ugly of growing a successful contracting company.
Welcome back to Contractor Cuts. My name is Clark Turner.
I'm Jared Flo.
Thank you for joining us this week. So today we are talking about what a good vision for your company and growth is and what a bad one is, and the difference and how to build it. And
the value of a vision.
Really the value. And it feels so like corporate sounding to have a vision and that sort of thing. But really a vision is more than just the way that we're like, we have
a vision meetings. Statement.
It's more of how we really decipher and filter every decision about when are we going to hire, how are we going to hire, how are we going to spend our money, when can I increase spending, when can I increase that. And so we set up a vision that we follow. And every year we reassess it. And we say, okay, what's this year look like? The vision long-term is this. What does that impact this year? What did we accomplish last year? And we'll kind of talk through building that and how we kind of land every year what the vision for that year should be.
Well, and having a vision in your company, and a part of the point of us going through this is just to process through the different places of your business that a vision has potential for impact.
Yeah.
If you have it, it can impact it positively. If you don't have it, there's a negative that's going to happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you any direction. It doesn't help you, right? Having a vision helps you in so many different areas of your business, whether you're a single, one-man show or whether you have multiple employees or it doesn't matter. Having a vision has effect on your business no matter what size you are.
And when we talk about vision with new guys coming into coaching or really anyone that we're having these conversations with, there's some ambiguity to it. I'm not quite, what do you mean by that? Or, I know what a vision is. I think a really good metaphor that we've talked about before, I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast, but a good metaphor for what vision is and why it matters in the impact is IKEA furniture, right? We've all dealt with IKEA furniture. It's you open up a bag, you've got about 4,000 pieces to put something together. So if I'm building a big bookshelf, right, and I go to IKEA, I buy the stuff, I've got it all in little baggies, and I've got every single piece there. Contractors without a vision are getting that bag. I got all the pieces. I know what I got to do. I've done this. I helped a buddy build his bookshelf before. They sit down and look at it, and they got to figure out where every piece goes. And
I know what I got to do. I got to build something.
Yeah. Now I got this piece. Where does that go next? And they just start putting it together. Trying to build as I go, figure out what pieces are for what, and it never really ends in a really good cabinet. Now you might be able to do it. It's going to take you X amount of time. Maybe, to build that cabinet that way is taking a lot of time because you don't know what you're building. You don't have an idea. It's trial and error. You don't have a written out way to do it. So the main point is I've got all these pieces. I'm trying to put it together, but I've got no vision on what it should look like.
It's a great example of that is an example of our example, but putting a puzzle together upside down with there's no picture, there's no nothing. Like I just have to figure out and trial and error. I'm going to put this piece here and then this piece here and this piece here and hope eventually it turns into a puzzle that I don't even know what it's going to look like.
Yeah. I
have no direction that's helping me create order around the assembly of this thing.
Yeah, but I've got the bookshelf. I've got all the pieces here in my company. I've got business. I know how to execute what I'm doing in my trade or as a contractor, whatever I am. I know how to do it. I've done it before. I've been doing it for years. I worked for my dad. I worked for a boss for 3 years who was doing the same thing. I've got the pieces here to form a company.
Right. But what you don't know is this cabinet going to be a tall cabinet with 4 shelves and dividers? Is it going to be a wide cabinet with just square holes? Like I know it's going to be a cabinet.
Yeah.
But I don't know anything about what the end form is going to look like.
Yep. And so there's really 3 phases when you're looking at vision and growth for a company. The first is I have all the parts. I have the knowledge, right? You don't come to coaching and we teach you that, studs in a wall need to be at 16 inches on center. That part you have to have. You have to have all the pieces for your construction company, for your trade company, whatever you're running. The next step is, like you just said, what am I building?
Yeah.
Right. And so if I can see a picture of it, I can see exactly what it is, what that bookshelf looks like, how many shelves, how wide it is, how tall it is. I've got a vision and I know what I'm building. And so I can start putting the pieces together, right? And so a lot of people stop there. They say, okay, I know what I'm building. This is what I want. I want this bookshelf. I've got all the pieces for it here. And then they start putting it together, and that shelf was wrong, so I got to take it apart. And it doesn't take them the same amount of time if they didn't have the vision. It might cut their time in half because they know what they're building. I can see that shelf is actually this board. So, and I can look at that picture and really kind of use the vision of what the final product's going to be and trial and error it to get there.
Yeah. The one of the other things about knowing the picture of what it's going to be, I know that once I get this done, I will have this cabinet, and the impact of having that cabinet will provide me this, right? It will provide me, I'm going to be able to clean up this area because now I have a storage unit for my books, for my things, right? It's going to give me clarity on, it's going to help me also create motivation behind it of like, okay, if I get this thing done, it's going to provide me the opportunity to organize this room, clean this room, have a spot, have a space to put things, whatever. Yeah. So that's a big piece of it of like, now I know this is where I'm going. I'm going to this spot. And once I get there, I'm going to have these things provided for me.
Yeah. So having that vision allows you to know where you're going and be able to make some decisions along the way. But the second part of this, then the last step, right? The first step is having all the pieces. The second step is a vision. The third and final step is an instruction manual that IKEA gives you, right? Step 1 through step 49 on putting this together. Step 1, take piece A and take piece B, right? And it walks you through step by step on how to build it.
Yeah. How many times have you been putting together an IKEA shelf and you're really good at this type of stuff, and you're like, I know how this thing goes together. I'm good at this stuff. I know all the tools. I know where I'm going. I know what it's going to look like. You start putting stuff together. I mean, I've even been following the directions and just misinterpreted a step, and I put the shelf in, but it was just upside down. And then all the holes aren't lining up and all the stuff, right?
And I got to take it all apart and redo it, go all the way back to step 4 and redo it.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the final piece is those steps. And so what we do as a coaching company, this is, what you need to do, whether you're going through our coaching or not, is building those processes and procedures, but it's all one organism. You can't have processes and procedures on how to build a shelf unless you know what shelf you're building.
Correct.
But you need but you can't build that shelf efficiently, quickly, and without costing you more time and money without those processes and procedures. Right. And so all the pieces, I know how to do everything. I've got everything here to build a shelf. That's number 1, the education, the knowledge, how to run it, how to execute what I'm doing. Number 2 is that vision long term. What does this look like at the end of in 5 years from now? What does this company look like? What do I want out of this company? What does my life look like in 5, 10, 15 years from now?
Right.
And then number 3 is, how do I get there? What's the step-by-step actionable items? What does 1 year from now look like? What does 6 months from now look like? What do I have to do step 1 through step 50 to actually get that shelf put together?
Right.
And so that's what we do as a coaching company is we've got those steps. We've got the instruction manual. We sit and meet with you and learn about your company and say, hey, let's hear what you're trying to build. Yeah. Let's see the pieces you got. A, what other pieces do you need? Do you have all of your pieces? B, here's our step-by-step general way that we do it. Let's look at your company and form exactly the steps for your specific company, for your personalities, for who you are, for what you deliver. We're going to build that instruction manual based on our core instruction manual that we have.
Yeah, and then also, we look at, hey, you know what? Where you're, from what you've told me, it looks like you're already at step 7.
Yeah.
So let's look at 1 through 6. Let's make sure we didn't miss anything.
Yep.
But then great, let's run from 7. Let's not start from 0, right?
Yep.
We're already moving forward. One of the interesting things is when we're spelling out those 3 different examples of bringing the education, the tools to the game, and having the pieces that you need, the vision of where it is, and then the actual step by step. Most people that we talk to get stuck in I have the skills, I have the tools, I know what to do to be able to do the work in this business, and their vision, the idea of what the cabinet is not specific.
I want to build a cabinet.
It's not clear. You're like, well, what kind of cabinet? What size? What color?
Cabinet, Jared.
Right. And because of that, because there's not clarity on exactly what it's going to be, every single day there's not a decision matrix that it goes through of like, okay, you know what? This thing that I'm doing is not getting me towards that direction.
Yep.
It's not going. And a lot of people get stuck in that spot. And why so many contracting companies fail is that without having a clear vision, it doesn't allow you to make small incremental steps of growth where you're growing and developing. And so you end up in the, what I call the contractor Groundhog Day. Every single day is the same thing. Get up, grind, come home. Get up, grind, come home. And you're not going anywhere. You think you are because you're putting some money in the bank and whatever. But eventually the fuel runs out. It's like, I just can't do this anymore. Yeah. I'm just, because we're as humans, we are innate desire to move, to grow, to develop.
Well, and I've spent 10 years trying to build a cabinet, the bookshelf that I want. And I look back from 10 years ago and my vision that I want this bookshelf. And 10 years later, I've got a pile of pieces on the floor and a couple shelves built. And
I realized that I've actually been trying to make a chair.
Yeah. And it's like, this doesn't look like a bookshelf. And I've borrowed a lot of money to build this bookshelf and it's not there. Like I can't even put my books on it. And so you get to a spot where it's like, why am I even doing this? Like, what's the purpose of it? And that's, a couple podcasts ago, we talked about burnout and what that looks like and how that happens, which is, I think, a really good podcast if you haven't heard it, talking about our mindset of this. So this podcast is going to talk about how to build that vision, what it should look like, and kind of the steps we take through coaching. So whether you're in our coaching or not, we're going to give it to you.
Yeah.
So when you're building a vision, there's really three things that we like to think about when you're kind of starting to dream, think through it. A, we want it to be not negative, a non-negative vision. So Jared, what does that mean when we say not negative?
Well, I don't want to be dependent on other people. I don't want to be working in the day-to-day anymore. I don't want to be, and like, it's a negative statement of like the things that I don't want versus here's what I want to achieve.
Yeah.
Right. It needs to be a positive forward moving statement, not I don't want to be doing this anymore, because you can't, I don't want to can lead you to a place where you like, well, I'm not gonna. You're like, well, you're not ready for that yet.
So Jared, what type of, what do you want to build with these pieces? Well, I don't want a computer desk. Okay, cool. Right. What do you want to build with these pieces? I definitely don't want a chair. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Where are you going with this?
Yeah.
Right. And so the not negative doesn't help.
Yeah.
It's just a problem. It's not a solution. It's not
That's
what
correct.
you're looking to do. The next thing we say is specific, right? Mm-hmm. Again, I want to build a bookshelf. Cool. What type of bookshelf? A bookshelf for books. Mm-hmm. Great. Specifically, 8 foot tall, 10 foot tall, 4 foot tall, 7 feet wide. Is it going to cover a wall? What color?
When do you need that bookshelf?
How is it? Yeah. When does it have to be finished by? Well, all that stuff specifically. And the answer oftentimes is, well, I'm building a bookshelf.
Yeah.
Understood.
As soon as I can get there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll dive into that in a second. And the last one is realistic, right? Hey, Jared, you've started a company 6 months ago. What are you building? And we get the answer, oh, I'm building this giant bookshelf. It's one of those 7-story tall, 80 feet wide. It's like this library that's going to hold every book in existence.
Yeah.
And I'm going to build this amazing. Great. You've been doing this for 6 months. You don't even have the pieces to build that.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that? What does that look like? Well, I'm just going to grind it out. No, that's not an answer. There has to be steps to get there, right?
Yeah.
So maybe the first step is to build a small bookshelf, and then we're going to build one next to it. So now we have a wider bookshelf with 2 that we've built, right? And so we need that game plan to get there. It's not impossible to do a 7-story tall, 80 feet wide bookshelf.
But the realistic part of it is that you're not going to do that this year.
No,
Yeah.
No. And so getting a realistic vision of what that should look like. And we've seen the opposite of that. We've seen guys coming in. We had one guy we coached last year that was his vision was too small. It was, I'm going to build like a 1-foot bookshelf. Well, you got pieces to build a full wall size. Like you've got this in place, you got this in place, you got that. Why only that? Well, I don't know. I know I could do it that size.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, is that what your end goal is? Well, no. Okay. So what's your end goal? Let's look at
we,
that.
we were 11 months away to the end of the year, and he had some good systems and processes in place, and was like, well, I'm just going to keep doing that, and I'm going to get that dialed in to an incredible place, and then maybe next year I'll look at hiring. Like,
Yeah.
But you've got money coming in, you've got a pipeline, you've got good systems.
It's dialed in.
We need to dial that in a little bit more, but you could realistically hire 2, maybe 3 people this year. No, next year, right?
Yeah. Which
And
is fine. We just want to open your eyes to what is possible and what isn't possible.
Yeah.
Let's be realistic. And from there, you can make your decisions.
That's
I don't
right.
mind you shooting low and not building what you can build.
Right.
As long as you know your capabilities and what you want, as long as that lines up to your final vision of what you want.
Right.
If what you want is a sizable, large bookshelf, and your goal is to build a 1-foot bookshelf, those don't line up.
Yep.
Right. And so let's work towards what it takes to build that.
Well, and going on to the next thing that I really like to say about a vision is that it provides so much stuff, but 2 really tangible things that having a vision does for you. The very beginning of that is what we call your North Star. It becomes your decision matrix. It becomes what am I doing? Why am I doing it? And does it lead me towards where I'm going?
Yeah.
I always use the example of, the North Star. If you're stuck in the middle of the desert and you decide that you're going to, I got to get out of here, and you just start walking, statistics show that if you do that, you end up walking in circles because you get disoriented and you don't have a place of origin, a focus that you're focusing on. And so your North Star, getting out of the desert, they always pick the highest, furthest thing away that you can find, but that specific thing, anytime that I'm like, wait, where am I? Up there's where I'm going.
Yeah.
Right. And you may, move a little bit, and the closer and closer you get to it, it may move from the top of the mountain down to the bottom of a tree.
Yeah.
Right. But the closer you get to it, it might get more and more specific. But the further you are out from it, 5 years, 10 years that you're out from your desired outcome, pick a high path, and then you can start making your decisions on a day-to-day basis based on, does this lead me to where I'm going?
Most contractors that we meet are opportunistic deciders of direction. It is, I have an opportunity, so I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm selling a ton of cabinets, so I'm going to start a cabinet company.
Yeah.
I got a brother that lives one town over that knows construction, wants to start his own company. I'm going to hire him, and so now we're going to expand to that city. The opportunity is driving my decisions, where what we want is my vision is driving my decisions. And so the difference is, my vision might be expansion, and my brother one city over might be able to expand our company over there. But let's make sure that decision lines up with the final vision, and it's not step 17 when I'm on step 3 right now.
Well, and I think most entrepreneurs have 2 really, really good skills. I think that they have a trust in their gut feeling. And I think that when they have a gut feeling, they know how to put legs behind it and just execute, right? Ooh, you know what? That's an opportunity, right? That gut feeling of like, yes, which other people would be like, too risky, not going to do that, whatever. But there's a gut feeling of like, I could make that work. I'm just going to execute it and make it happen. And that is an incredible asset. But if it is not pointed in the right direction, where you have a reminder of your North Star, you will end up with a cabinet company, a dumpster company, an HVAC company, and all of these different things that you're trying to juggle. There's somebody that I'm coaching right now. He is the epitome of this. And he's got all these different opportunities that are all opportunities to make an incredible amount of money. But because he's overloaded himself with so many things, he's not able to execute any of them.
Yeah. They're all at 20% effort as opposed to 100% effort in one direction.
Right.
And going back to our metaphor, it's like I'm trying to put together these pieces for a cabinet, and all of a sudden someone's like, "Hey, I've got an ottoman for sale if you want it. It'd match any sort of chair you want to build."
Right.
Well, how much is it? Well, I'll give it to you for nothing practically. Okay, I'll buy that ottoman. Maybe I'll build a chair with these parts. Right. And so then everything I've built towards the shelf, it's like, well, now I'm gonna change and kind of start building this. So the shelf is halfway done. Right. And so now the chair is halfway done. And then all of a sudden someone's like, hey, if you want a computer, I've got a way to build a computer desk. You want to go that? And so your shifting where you're going depending on those opportunities, which never works out. It can, I'll take that back. It can work out in a way that you are making money.
Right.
It doesn't grow a company which is self-sustaining and financial freedom and security. So yeah, you can make money that way. If I sold cabinets this year in my construction company, I can make more money than if I didn't.
I can save my or my construction company money, and I can double down and make money on the.
That is true. That can happen. The capacity, the loss of you at your construction company, the inability to grow that or deal with those homeowners because I'm out meeting with suppliers and a facility to build the cabinets and all that stuff. All of the time I'm spending on that is affecting my other business, and I got to be okay with that. And
and the interesting thing is that if you've done a vision statement or created a vision that you've got 5 years, here's where I want to be. If there was a way, and there's not a way to do this, but if there is a way to, there's this opportunity to create a cabinet company or whatever it is, you say yes to that, and your 5 year goes to 8, right? I'll get there, because the problem is that your 5 year goal was based on, I'm going to put my efforts into the construction company, so 5 years from now I need to be there. So this year I need to hire 2 project managers and have them up and running and vetted and fully functioning. Well, what happens is you avert your attention over to this thing, you delay the hire by 2 or 3 months, and you end up getting that new hire in, and he's not really vetted out by the end of the year. It's next year before he's vetted out, and then you hire your second person halfway through that year. You've delayed yourself by 1 year by making that decision.
Yeah.
Right? And it's only because, yes, you may have been able to bank more money in the short term, but long term, your goal of financial security, more time back in my that I can spend with my family, that is the longer term goal. You've just extended that further out because you've chosen, I want more money now, and I'm not going to be able to put efforts into the achievable goals to get to the vision of where I'm trying to go.
Yep. So with that being said, let's walk through how to kind of create and build that vision. And so this is something that we do every January on our annual retreat. If you want to come on a retreat, go to our website, our events tab, sign up for the retreat, or just hit us up on the contact us and we'll talk to you about it, kind of give you some information. You don't have to be in our coaching program. Come on the retreat. Everyone in the coaching program gets a free ticket to the retreat as well. So they get to come for free, or for depending on what level they're in, they might have to pay something. But hit us up. We'll talk to you about it. But what we do every single year on that annual retreat is we say, okay, what happened last year? This was your goal a year ago. This past year, what did you do right? What did you do wrong? What's working? What's not? Oh, you decided to start a cabinet company. Okay, tell me about that. Let's look at that. And you get our assessment and help with that, and we walk you through.
And the beginning, but even before that, has your long-term goal changed?
Yeah.
Has your 5 year goal changed?
Yep.
You know what? We had kids this year, and I was thinking about selling it, but I think I'd really like to create a generational business. Okay, cool. Let's reorient it. Let's take a look at, does that 5 year vision change?
Yep.
Right?
You got to. We start, especially if it's your first retreat with us. It's like, okay, what's 5 years from now look like? And we start there. Obviously, this is the goal. And now, if you're returning, we know what that was from last year. We've talked all year about your vision and your goal. And so you're right. That's where we absolutely start. If it's your first time, what does 5 years from now look like? What's success and what's failure in 5 years? Yeah. And again, realistically, if you're starting a company today, in 5 years, you're most likely not going to be at $100 million a year.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But what does that look like, and how do we get there? And that's something where we can give some knowledge and guidance, because we've talked to a ton of companies. We've been through this before ourselves. But what is a realistic goal for 5 years from now? Yeah. Next, to get there, what does 1 year from now look like? Right. That's the next step. So if I want to be doing $5 million a year in 5 years from now, and I want to have, I don't know how many employees I need, but I want to be at that spot, because at that point I can start taking X amount of money out. Yeah. What does 1 year from now look like, and how do we get there? And what does those hires look like, and how much do I need to be doing by then? Yeah. Well, and a tangible example of that is, take your 5 year goal. And draw out an org chart of what you think it's going to be. Like we said before, North Star.
right? It's the top of the mountain. It may change as we get closer to it, but the top of the mountain, come up with what you think your business is going to look like. You as the general manager, 2 or 3 managers underneath of you, 5 project managers under each one of them. Maybe that's your goal for 5 years from now. So now let's back it out. That's 5 years. Well, how many employees could I really hire successfully in a year, right? And then back that back down. Okay, so if I can, to hit that goal, I need to hire at least 4 people a year. Can I do that? Is that real? And that's the stuff that we do, is helping dial in. Is this a realistic thing?
If you're not in your first year of business, the next step after what you just said is, what does the last 12 months look like? Because you haven't made a hire.
Yeah.
You have, 12 months ago you were in your revenue was 200,000 a month, and now it's at 210,000 a month. So revenue hasn't grown over the last 12 months. You haven't made a hire, but all of a sudden you think you're going from 210 a month to 600,000 a month in the next 12 months with 3 hires.
Right.
That doesn't really add up. That doesn't feel like reality unless something major changes very quickly.
Well, and that's the clarity of that evaluation.
Yeah.
If I continue to operate this year the exact same way that I did last year, am I going to move forward? And if the answer to that is no, then what is it that I need to do differently this year to be able to move forward? And it can be as simple as you need to spend 5 hours a week working on your business versus in your business. Or it can be as simple as that, right? Or it can be it's just restructuring where your focus is so that you can start marching your way towards the end of the year goal.
Yeah. And we have a 280-point checklist that walks kind of through that. Wherever you're at, we say, okay, you're right here. So here are for the next 3 months, you should be working on these things. Until those are accomplished, you're not even making a hire.
Right.
And so we got to break that down and help you understand what those should be. And here's the thing, we're not geniuses. We say this all the time. We've been there before, and we've developed this through working with a ton of companies as to its experience. We know what works and doesn't work, and that's what we help you with. You can figure it out on your own, but it's going to be trial and error. You're going to try some stuff, make a hire, fire that person, lose that cash. And so that's what the value of coaching is. Coaching is not some therapy that you're buying from someone to fix your company. No, coaching is, hey, I'm about to make a decision. Should I go left or should I go right? And we say, well, we've been left. This is the problem with going left. I would suggest going right. If you do choose to go left, here's what you're going to face. Here's what you got to prepare for.
We've put together a lot of IKEA cabinets.
Yeah.
Right? And we get to come alongside you, and we're there with you.
Yep.
We're not putting it together. You're running the hammer. You're building it. You're following the schematics. We're saying, oh, don't put that there.
Yeah.
Wait, do this first, then go to here. Do you see why? Because if you do that, then this piece is not going to fit there.
Yep.
Right? That's what the coaching is. That's how it fits into play, where you've just got somebody at your shoulder, in your team, on your, spurring you on with experience to say, hey, don't step in.
It's a guide down the path.
Yeah.
Right. You can forge your path and do it yourself. Absolutely. Let us guide you down one. We've been down them before.
Yeah. If you're attempting to put that cabinet together by yourself, you can do it. Even with all the schematics and all the different stuff, you can do it. Would it be able to be done faster and more efficiently if you've got somebody there who's put that together 7 times?
We can shrink 5 years of growth down to 1 year of growth. How much money are you going to make over the next 5 years by going through and learning this stuff? So we sit down with you. We talk about that. You should be looking at, okay, the next 12 months, I want to get to X amount of dollars in revenue. I want so many hires. So let's plot that out on month over month. What does January look like? You already, we do this in January. So we know your numbers for January. You kind of have an idea of what February looks like. Let's start laying out what you think growth looks like. And also next to each month, let's put down when you're going to hire. If you're going to hire someone, if that's a goal, what month are you going to do it and why and how?
Yeah.
And so we start laying out a blueprint for the next 12 months.
A helpful podcast for that one is go back to the chicken or the egg podcast. Right? Do I hire first or do I get work first?
Yep. And
that's a piece of it where if I'm going to hire somebody, I need to have the work for them, right? So as you're plotting out and building through the year, all right, I'm looking to hire sometime around May or June. All right, then March and April, I need to be developing more business and getting more stuff in so that I can get
cash away, have all my paperwork and hiring. All that needs to be put together. So we look at, all right, so we've got 5-year vision, we got a 1-year vision, we've looked at the last 12 months, we've tried to make the next 12 months reality. And the final piece, which is the most important, what's changing from the last 12 months to make the next 12 months happen?
Correct.
Right? What are you doing differently? Because if you look over the last 12 months, you've grown 5% in 12 months.
Yeah.
So if you don't change a thing, you can probably project to change another 5% in the next 12 months, right? And so don't blame economy. Don't blame hires. Don't blame other people for what happened in the last 12 months. Let's look at reality and see what you can do differently for the next 12 months to achieve what's real.
Right.
And if you're blaming outside factors like that, you're going to have outside factors in the next 12 months. So we need to have a goal and a purpose in the next 12 months to curb and overcome outside factors like economy, like that sort of thing. Of how are we going? Let's put that into our projections to make sure we hit our numbers that are realistic over the next 12 months.
Right.
Once you have that, then we put together and we look, okay, your vision for the company is this. In the next 12 months, this is success.
Yeah.
It's January. By July 1st, this is what success is. By 3 months from now, this is what success is. And let's write that down and let's put together the coaching plan over the next 12 months for you, if you're doing coaching with us, and look at what you need to do week over week to make this success happen.
Yeah.
It's all bite-sized pieces. You're not going to eat the elephant in one sitting. It's one bite at a time until you look back 12 months later and say, wow, that I accomplished a lot because I had a guide down a path of step by step. If I do this one thing, that builds to the next thing, that builds to the next thing. And you look back and you're like, this cabinet, this bookshelf looks really good.
Yeah.
And it's just one little piece at a time that I put together.
Well, and going back to something we said earlier, that statement, your 5-year, your 1 year, need to be specific, they need to be clear, and they need to be realistic.
Yep.
Right? And if your 5-year is not clear, specific, and realistic, then your 1 year is going to be vague.
Yep.
And if your 1 year is vague and you're trying to dial that back into what do I need to be doing this month, what you need to be doing is vague.
Yeah.
Right. So specific, clear, and realistic from the 5-year, then your 1 year, and they need to be by the end of this year. I want to double the sales in my business by hiring 2 project managers and be on the way to hiring the 3rd. Right, by the end of the year.
Yeah. I'll accomplish this by adding these new clients. I'm going to go after it by, pursuing X, Y, and Z. I'm going to go to the south side of our city because right now I'm just servicing the north side. Whatever it is, what am I going to accomplish, and how am I going to do it is all one piece.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a detailed, overly complicated vision for the year.
Yeah.
It's I'm going to double my sales. Don't stop there. That's a bad example. Don't say I'm going to double my sales this year.
Right.
How and why are you going to do it?
Yeah.
I'm going from 2.5 million to 5 million, and I'm going to do it this way. Well, that's not going to happen because if you look, you haven't grown any in the past 12 months. So let's make it realistic.
Yeah.
In the next 12 months, I'm going to go from 2.5 million in sales to 3.5 million because I'm going to make one hire and then one at the end of the year. And by doing that, I will be able to hit my goal of 3.5 million this year. And then it's set, right? And so that's what we're pursuing and we're trying to build to, looking at that growth.
Well, and another really good example, and what we try to get people into when we're going through this process with people is clear, specific, realistic. The realistic part we're helping with. Clear and specific are, I want to double my sales. Well, let's say I want to hit 1.2 million by the end of the year at 20% average profit, right? So that's really clear, really specific by the end of the year. So I've got a time, I've got a large dollar amount. I don't care if you did $10 million this year. If you did a 0.5% profit, it's not worth it, right? So be really, really specific with it. I want to hit this dollar amount at this profit by this time. And to do that, I'm going to do these things. I'm going to hire 2 project managers who will be up and running and vetted by August.
Yeah.
right? Or whatever.
Yeah. And just so you know, picking that stuff out up front is great. And then doing the steps we talked about and what we do on the retreat of how I'm going to get there is going to realign that vision.
Yep.
Like I said, I can say I'm at 2.5. I want to double by the end of the year. I'm at 20% by December 31st. That's great.
Yeah.
Let's see if that's realistic, and let's lay it out and change. Maybe you can get to 6 million. Maybe you're only going to get to 3 million. Let's look at how you're going to do it, and make sure that the vision is deliverable and achievable. And from there, we spread that to our employees, and we'll talk about that in another podcast. But we take that vision and we implement it in the company to where everyone knows this is where we're going.
Right. Well, and one of the things I heard somebody say. If you bring people into a company that doesn't have a vision, the people in the business won't last because they don't have a vision of where they're going. It's a nebulous business where we're just kind of floating around. If you have a vision, then you can bring people into it. And by nature of that, you can roll that vision out to the individual person. They can see where they're going. Yeah.
Next podcast, next week, we talk about we're going to be talking about the employees and labor and people in your company. And what you're saying is exactly right. Everyone has their own vision for their own life. I'm looking, every single employee has a vision of where they want to go.
Yeah.
And so my job as the leader is to build a vision for the company and then let everybody see how their vision aligns with our vision.
That's
and
right.
how they can achieve what they need to achieve by being here and being a part of this. So we're going to dive into labor and employees and how and that sort of thing next week. But yeah, when it comes to vision, let us team up with you. This is really the basis of coaching. This is where it all starts, game plans. And then coaching is execution and walking and guiding down that path and dodging the bullets when they come, right? What do we do about X, Y, and Z? Oh, crap, this happened. Now what? This guy quit. That hire didn't work out. What should we do next? And so having someone who's been there to call is super helpful in those situations to where the small price you're paying for coaching, you're saving in efficiencies and profits and making the right decisions. So
that's right.
If you want to talk to us about coaching, joining up with us or just a phone call with Jared or myself to hear about what we do and actually how it affects you, we always like to start with a free blueprinting call. We'd like to get on, talk to you, hear about your company, hear about what is going on with you and your company, and kind of give an assessment. Because really, and to be totally transparent, we vet you. We look and we say, is this person going to be successful in this? Because if they're not, we don't want to waste our time in this burnout 6 months from now.
Right.
So for us, it's a vetting. You need to vet us. We have that conversation. If you're not ready for that yet, talk to us about boot camp. Talk to us about the retreat. Get something that's helping you grow towards your vision and outside of this says, hey, that's right. Hey, that's not really going to work. Tell me more about why you're trying to do it that way. Come on the retreat. It's a couple days of intense growth with other contractors around you in January. We're all growing together, and it's super. It's like a fraternity of contractors that help each other, learn from each other, and then we guide you through all of this stuff with growth to where next year is going to be absolutely killer if you've got this game plan put in place.
That's right. That's right.
Go to ProStruct360.com for that information. Click on the links in the bio if you're in our social or anywhere else. Love to chat with you guys. We'll talk to you next week.
See ya.
Bye.